Hi, I'm Kaylee Rose of Lunation Mentoring, and today I wanted to jump on and just share what I mean when I say lunar living. Because in my Facebook group, part of the name is Lunar Living. I talk a lot about it in my work, but what on earth does lunar living actually mean? Um, and it's different people mean different things when they talk about lunar living. And it's really easy to hear those words and think like, oh, you just like live by the moon phases. Okay, so you pay attention to where the moon is. You maybe do some rituals or activities or something, journaling, whatever, that is uh, in line with the moon's phases. Maybe you go moon bathing. Maybe you like infuse water with your intention on like the new moon, and like it can be that can be what people mean. Absolutely, they can mean that, and I do mean when I say lunar living, um, living by the moon's phases. But lunar living is more than that. So in astrology, as I understand it, and as I work with it, the moon represents the feminine aspect. The is feminine energy, including divine feminine energy. And um, so that means connection to mother and mothering. That means connection to emotions and intuition. That means connection to the inner world rather than the external world. That means cyclical living and cyclical time rather than linear time. And um, with all of that, when I'm saying lunar living, moon living, I'm primarily referring to leaning into, embodying, embracing that feminine aspect, that feminine energy, that energy of openness and receptivity. Um, and right now, feminine energy is a buzz term. It's something that a lot of people are talking about, and there's a lot of different philosophies out there. But for now, all I really want to say is that when I'm talking about feminine energy in the context of lunar living, I am talking about coming from a space of feeling and being and a space of receiving and connecting with our emotions and our intuition. And so, with that, there comes, yeah, living by the moon's actual phases in real time, having an awareness of what phase the moon is in, what signs that's in, what that energy is feeling like for you, and using that as a bridge or a vehicle for emotional healing and connecting with your own intuition. Um, and that I love supporting people on that. Like my Facebook group, my weekly emails, they're all geared to this idea of using journaling in particular, meditative journaling, as a jumping off point for utilizing the moon's energy, the moon phase energy, for that emotional healing and intuitive connection. But I feel like I and you miss out if that's the only thing that we take from the concept of lunar living. There is also feminine archetypes of the moon, the feminine archetypes of Black Moon Lilith. Um, the moon in all the planets, or technically the moon is a luminary, but the planets in astrology, the moon has the most additional points connected to it. There's Black Moon Lilith, a mathematical point. White Moon Selene, a mathematical point. The North Node and the South Node. Some people call them the nodes of fate. Some people refer to them as your life path. Those are also calculated based on the moon. based on that physical embodiment of this inner concept of inner self, emotion, intuition, that nurturing element, um, that feminine principle, that feminine energy. And I think there's a lot of significance there. There's a lot of beauty there. And so having a connection to and an awareness of those archetypes and how they apply to you personally, that's part of lunar living. So too is honoring the balance of masculine and feminine energy in you in the amounts and in the ways that are most honoring of your divine design, your divine blueprint. Because while I believe that generally speaking, women tend to function best with a greater percentage of feminine energy and a lesser percentage of masculine energy, and then the opposite for men. I do feel and have experienced that each individual person has their own nuance in that. Whether it's like 2080 or 1090 or something else as far as percentages, that it's not exactly the same for every single person, but that at least as far as I have ever observed, the ideal functioning for a female body is higher feminine energy and lower masculine energy. And the ideal functioning for a masculine body, a male body, is higher masculine and lower feminine energy. So lunar living has that aspect of, okay, let's let's embrace feminine energy, that feminine principle. For me and my belief system, I also view the moon as representative of a connection to the female aspect of God. I believe that I have God as my father and God as my mother, as two distinct beings. And like that idea of Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, the moon is that connection to that feminine divine. And lunar living includes fostering a relationship with what is divinely feminine in you, as well as what is the divine feminine. Whether you view your higher power as actual beings, or whether you view it as more like universal energy, or whatever your framework is, there can be this element of the feminine principle that's a part of your higher power in one form or another. And lunar living is fostering a relationship with that feminine principle as the divine and as the divine in you. And lunar living can be a really countercultural way of showing up on this planet, because we're so conditioned to achieve and compete and do and follow linear timelines. But that's only one half of the equation. That's only part of why we're even here. And lunar living is this awakening to circular time and truly being in the moment and feeling what you honestly feel in a vulnerable way, allowing yourself to be held and protected and provided for by masculine energy in the form of God, in the form of masculine beings on this planet. And when needed, in the form of the masculine energy that dwells within you. But just resting in the magnificence and the beauty and the power of that feminine energy. And that for me is the core of lunar living. For me, like the moon represents and encapsulates all of that. And so that's why I say lunar living in the work that I'm doing. And I just want to give a shout out right now to my dear friend Ellie Duzette. She is an amazing woman and she's taught me so many things. Um, but right now, I'm just extremely grateful that she is in my life because I have had the opportunity over the last week to read her newest book that's not out yet, that's on polarity, on that polarity of masculine and feminine energy. And reading that book, I messaged her after I read the introduction and told her that I was in tears because it touched me so deeply and connected so fully with the work that I feel like I'm here to do on this planet for myself and in empowering other people to do that work as well. Um, but I just want to thank her and tell you, look out for her book. I don't think she's officially named it yet, um, but her book on the masculine and feminine polarity, it's primarily for women and from the perspective of women living in feminine energy in a way that is incredibly healing and empowering. Um, but it will be coming out soon. And I'm so excited for you and for anyone who comes into contact with this book. Because, yeah, it's very countercultural in a lot of ways, but it is very connected to lunar living and healing on a very deep level and connecting with universal truth and universal law, like the law of polarity. So, yeah, that is what I felt to share with you today about lunar living. And once Allie's book is out and available, I will link that with this video so that you can go read that. But I just invite you to explore some facet of lunar living, whether that's going outside for 5 minutes today and just being, allowing yourself to feel what you feel without needing to judge or categorize it, and being gentle with yourself and forgiving if you do start categorizing and thinking about what you're feeling rather than just experiencing it. Like that right there is a monumental shift into lunar living. And if you just stuck with that, doing that once a day, you would see some really powerful shifts happen for you. I feel fairly confident in saying that based on my own experience and the experiences of um, other women that I've rubbed shoulders with uh, in physical life as well as virtually. So that's all I have